is just jumping on for the first time, I appreciate you guys checking us out. I hope that this content is something that you would leave with a new perspective and you've learned something you can take away from this. That's really the goal here. We're having a community discussion. And today, our topic is definitely not like any other topic. Actually, we're really celebrating women across the world, really. But we're going to specify with the women that we have joining us today. So, we have different guests that are coming on. First, I have here with me Miss Monique, who's technically not a guest. She's a part of the show. So I'm so excited to have her back here to give you guys her expertise and her point of view. But again, if you are a first time joiner, I do want to introduce myself properly. I am Mrs. Trouble, and I have here with Miss Monique from Lioness Defense. And we are going to talk to you guys about a lot of things, but stemming from the fact of celebrating women. At the end of the day, everybody has a woman in their life. I mean, we all were birthed from one, right? So that's for starters. Regardless if that woman has maintained being in your life for whatever reason, we know not all women tend to raise their children or maybe still alive and things like that. But we have some sort of influence from the women that we are around. So it's really important to kind of show homage, especially as a woman. I feel like I have to show homage to the women that are who has come before me because they've paved the way. To be honest, they paved the way for me to do what I love to do on an everyday basis. And this is my way of saying thank you. I appreciate the women that came before. I can think off the top of my head. There's definitely one woman that I would like to say thank you to, even though she can't hear me. She's no longer with us. Annie Oakley. If you have never heard of her before, but if you've never heard of her before, she is one of the pioneers of women being in the firearm community. Okay, because we all know that this is a male-dominant, field, but she made it kind of cool for women to be there, in this space. She definitely was a show woman in the aspect of firearms by joining the Buffalo Bills Wild Show. Her and her husband traveling to across to Europe and performing to the royal families and things of that nature. Her biggest, greatest trick was actually shooting a cigarette out of her husband's mouth, and
I
I
remember
thought that
that.
was really cool.
I remember that.
That is so cool to know that someone actually took the time to build this type of craft. And before she passed, she actually did train 15,000 women. I mean, that's amazing. The fact that she actually passed the torch. And I just really appreciate her opening up that space and making it, available for the rest of us to be able to grab that baton and keep it moving. So we have that little backdrop information. I do want to ask Monique if you want to just, say hello and tell a little bit about your background for a split second in case anyone who doesn't know who you are.
All right. Thank you, Sheena. My name is Monique, like she said, with Lioness Defense. Um, Short background on me. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 19. Um, I just retired last year after 20 years active duty, and I'm enjoying retirement. I now work for the U.S. Marshal Service as a training specialist, curriculum developer for them. I am married with 4 beautiful kids and my dog. I live here in Virginia, and on the side, I train. Um, I'm also a bit of a training junkie myself, so I like to train myself as well. But I love training students, new students, women, kids, everybody. It's my passion. I like it. The two things I love the most, like I tell Sheeta all the time, I like to shoot and I like to teach. So why not, do two things that I love the most. So that's
That's
a quick,
perfect.
lowdown on me.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shows. I mean, you're a really great instructor. I've worked with you plenty of times before, and I couldn't have thought of a better person to help me with the channel. And I really just appreciate all that you have given your time and your expertise towards this cause of helping other women out there. Thank you so much, Mad Woman 23, for joining.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. And when it comes to one of the questions I wanted to ask you to start this whole thing off, what we're doing tonight is, I understand being a woman in a male dominated field, you may have come across some stereotypes, some things that people just kind of thought one way, but you had to maybe tell them another way. What are
Mhm.
some things that you may have had to deal with, whether it was in the military or whether it was being a business owner or whether it was being a firearm instructor altogether?
Mm. I will say, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you come across, whether it be, chauvinism, sexism, racism. There's a lot of different things that I've come across as far as just a being in general when it comes to the firearms training world.
Mm-hmm.
I've come more across stereotypical, I'll say political banter.
Mm.
Um, we talk about liberals and Republicans and Dems and stuff like that. That's conversations that happened around me, which I think were a little tone deaf.
Mm.
When oh, all Democrats are this or all Republicans are that, and I'm just like, it does not come down to that. It's not how that works.
No,
you know.
not at all.
Um, um, so I will say that on my journey as an instructor, because when you go into classes that are instructor development type classes, you get deeper into the mindset of the people that you come across.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, it is male dominated. It also is white dominated, right? So I
Yeah,
most of the time that I'm in those classes, I'm either the only female or the only black person in general. So I've come
yeah.
across that a lot. Um, the only other thing I would say that I've come across is being underestimated as a woman that shoots, going to the range and having some random dude try to show me how to shoot, and then I got to put on my big girl underwear and say, hey, you know, it's not what you want,
It's
in a nice
definitely not
way,
what you want out there now. Don't
in a
try it. Don't
respectful
try
way, right? Um, but yeah, those are really the only things. And honestly, to be 100% frank, within probably the first couple of months, I kind of let a lot of that roll off my shoulder because the whole purpose of me being there is to learn and to
it.
better myself, better my craft and my skill. So at the end of the day, how they feel or how they think or whatever does not impact me, and it doesn't affect what I'm trying to do. So I really just get my knowledge, my little gems, and I go, So that's
That
how I
makes
feel
perfect
about
sense.
that. Hmm.
Yeah. So to go ahead and go to the chat box area, I see
Yeah.
Madwoman23 asks, as a woman, what got you into shooting? And I'll let you go first, Monique, even though she asked for both of us. So I'd like you to go ahead and answer that question first.
I first started shooting when I joined the Marine Corps. I'd never touched a firearm prior to that. I was born and raised in Bronx, New York, so you were either a criminal or a cop. There really wasn't no in between about that. So firearms weren't a thing. But when I joined the Marine Corps, I will tell you, if I knew how to do anything, it was shoot. I came out of boot camp knowing how to shoot really well, and I enjoyed it, and it became a competition thing for me against the males in my unit because I outshot most of them. My gunny would bet on me all the time. Be like, hey, Clark, you gonna get you're gonna max out. I'm like, yeah. We were in a typhoon, and he bet me, and he owed me a 6 pack of beer at the end of that typhoon. I promise you that, right?
Wow.
So it was just something I enjoyed because I could do it. It was something out of the back that was something I enjoyed and something I was good at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then along the way, it turned into something that I was offered to do. So I actually went and became a combat marksmanship instructor for the Marine Corps. And I did that for a while too, for years. Even though it's a collateral duty, it's something that you do semi regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was just something that I invested in when I got out the Marine Corps. I won't even say when I got out the Marine Corps, while I was in the Marine Corps during COVID and everybody was quarantined for weeks at a time, that was my getaway, right? I went to the range, I practiced, I just shot, and I would bring my friends. And one of my friends was like, hey, you're really good at teaching, you should teach. I laughed it off, but then I was like, yeah, that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so
That's what you
that's what
love.
got me into shooting. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely do what you love. Well, I mean, for me, my journey was a little bit different. My husband was the one that served in the army, and
Mhm.
he had a love for firearms. He had a love for firearms before then, but the army really cultivated that love, and his responsibility within the military, being a trainer as well. Um, he continued to do that service when he left the army service, and it took me years for him to convince me that women need women instructors.
Mhm.
So anybody already knows right now probably that I am a big woman advocate, woman and child advocate, and the passion that I feel for helping other women is very deep. And when we decided to open up Trouble Defense, uh, we decided, okay, this is going to be a family-owned business ran by family, and it's going to help families. That was the goal. And
Mhm.
my goal, of course, is the women and the children, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm trying to help them the most I can. But he's like, you need to, babe, you have to understand that women need women instructors. And the more I talk to our clients, the more I was like, oh, you're right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, at first, like you, same like you, I grew up in DC, and ain't nobody have a gun but police, military. It just, I mean, that's it, and the thugs,
Right.
of course. So I had no interest in
Yep.
guns either, just because that was my mindset about firearms. And
Mhm.
when he first began to teach me, and it really connected with me that women need women instruction, um, from another woman, when he was teaching me how to shoot and how I wasn't really listening that well. I felt like pushy.
Uh-huh.
I felt like he was pushy. I felt like he was aggressive, and because he's familiar, and that's the thing.
Mhm.
Like, when you have your woman and you have a male that's a family member or your husband, even or a close friend, they're going to be familiar. And so the
Mhm.
way that they approach you could be a bit aggressive when you're in an environment that's
Yeah.
intimidating. So he got me a female instructor. Once
Mhm.
I did training with Amber, I don't know if you're listening, but if I when I did training with you, I was able to go back and do some more training with my husband and actually listen to what he was saying, because Amber got me
Mhm.
like the foundation that I needed. So,
Yeah.
and that's where I made that aha connection. So,
But funny
yeah.
story. When I was in North
Mhm.
Carolina, I had an older lady and her husband that came to the class. And it's perfect for your story because they were hilarious, those two. He was trying to teach me, and I don't think he knows what he's talking about, mind you. This my Mind you, he is a park ranger, like a reserve ranger, and then he shoots and all this other stuff. And she's like, he told me to hold it like this, and I don't think that's right. Mind you, it's the same way I told her how to hold it, right? So I'm I'm letting her go on, and he's like, see, she don't want to listen, but he was teaching her the right way, which is not common because I do have
Mhm.
some guys, some coming there, and I'm like, who taught you that? Oh, my boyfriend, my husband.
Exactly.
Don't do that anymore, right? So,
Right.
but she was like, I knew he didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, all right, you got it.
I can see that being us. I mean, the Lord. My husband actually taught at the warrior. What is it called? The warrior
Wounded,
competition. Wounded
wounded
warrior
warrior.
competition.
Okay.
Yes, he actually instructed there, and I'm
Nice.
telling him that he can teach me. So it was like I just wasn't listening. I don't know
Hmm.
if I was just too nervous to be in that environment. I really can't tell you what
Hmm.
was going through my mind. I just really wasn't getting what he was trying to teach me.
Right.
But yeah, so I definitely made that my expertise. It's something that I do with the passion, and I
Hmm.
provide monthly women training because of that, and this channel in efforts to that, because I understand
Hmm.
that women, we fall in a different category and needing a little support in
Hmm.
other ways that maybe men may not understand. You guys do great jobs. You're great instructors out there. I must say that. I'm not putting
Hmm.
anybody down, taking anything away from anybody, because I mean, my husband included, excellent instructor. So it's just one of those things that women sometimes do need to make that connection with another female for just a moment.
Hmm.
So yeah. So I'm glad that you were able to share your story as to why you got into this. And, like yourself coming into this arena, there has been some kind of stereotypes that I've actually come across as well.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is more like a stare down. It was more nonverbal, approach to things that I get a lot from
Hmm.
men in the field, particularly, no offense to anybody out here, but particularly white males that happen to work at the gun range. I'll go in there and they're just kind of like, hmm, like, what is she doing? Is she all right? Like, do you know what you're
Hmm.
doing? Like, it's their demeanor. But
Hmm.
I learned to just brush it off and just show them my skills. Just
Hmm.
focus on what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing, so I know my skills are going to speak for itself. And eventually, I began to develop that type of trust with the staff that works in the ranges that I go to. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I've learned to just expect that behavior at first because
Yeah.
there's not very many women in our industry, and there's not very many black women in our industry.
Right.
So now and I just go into it like, my head up high, my confidence there, and then they'll get it.
Facts, facts. And the once you build those relationships, it's great because, as you know, we know one particular individual, man, is ornery as all get out, but he loved to see me coming. So
Yep.
I'm cool.
Exactly. That's the facts. That's the facts. And you are so right. I definitely love having those connections that we have in the gun
Hmm.
community. It's definitely a much more welcoming community than many
Hmm.
people believe it to be.
It
Honestly,
is.
we have
It
some of the
is.
most friendliest people in the gun community, honestly.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
anyone watching this right now, I do want to go ahead and put out there, if you have not already pressed that subscribe button, please do so. And
Hmm.
make sure you press the notification button so you can get notified when we are going live. This is a community discussion. So, if you guys do have questions for me or any of the guests, please put that in the chat box area. We want to make sure you guys are leaving with some knowledge. So, we're going to do our best to answer those questions as you guys put things in. Let's see. Do people think you manly because you shoot? Yes, I get that. Yes.
I have gotten it. I was in the Ford dealership, and this man that worked there told me that I intimidated him because I was talking about shooting. And I was like, sir, why? Why? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went into it, and he's saying exactly what this man was saying. He was like, he had dated a woman that was a an officer. He didn't realize that she shot like off her off time, and she carried
Hmm.
on her off time. And he was like, he was intimidated, and it was a turnoff, and he wound up breaking up with her. I don't know why he went into this whole song and dance about his love life, but but he told me all of that, and I was like, I don't understand why it intimidated you. She's able to handle herself. And in the event that you're not around, well, even when you are around, you can't protect her. Apparently, he didn't like that comment. Um, but yeah, I've definitely gotten that it's aggressive, it's unattractive, and I don't care because my wife
Hmm.
loves me. So that's all that matters to me.
Yep. That's why I'm married to my husband because he doesn't find it intimidating or a turn off or
Right.
anything. And for me, actually, that's a plus. Okay. It's a plus for
Hmm.
me because as a married woman, I don't want to be hit on. I want to
Right.
just do my job and be good with that. I don't want a
Right.
man trying to pursue me. So if you find it intimidating and that's the reason why you don't approach me in that way,
By all means.
that's great. That's great. Because honestly, you don't want to be my husband. I'm gonna just tell you right now, you don't want to be him. So, so it definitely is a great thing though, because that definitely has changed that perspective. When I was in the career of being a child care provider, yeah, it's much more likely somebody's gonna hit on me because yeah, you deal with children. Oh, you such a sweet lady. Da 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 da. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I tell them I shoot guns for a living, or I teach people how to shoot guns. They're not even saying nothing. So it works. And thank you so much, Amber, for joining.
Thank
And I
you.
appreciate you being proud of us. Thank you so
Hmm.
much. So what I'm going to do right now is change turn tables here a little bit here. I'm going to
Hmm.
have Miss Asia. Are you on? If you can just put something in the chat box area to let me know you're on. and that way we can get you switched out. Okay. So I just want to make sure first before we jump into doing that. And in the
Mhm.
meantime, if you guys haven't already pressed that thumbs up button, go ahead and press that. Make sure you let other people know that we're doing something great here and it's something worthwhile looking at. We appreciate it because others do what others do, right? So, and that always helps to let people know that this is definitely something worthwhile to look at. So I really appreciate that. Asia, if you are here, if you can put in the chat box area, please, so we'll just know before we go ahead and make that switch. But in the meantime, I had
Mhm.
another question for you. Let's see. What you've done many trainings in the past. What was what was probably one of your favorite trainings that you've ever done?
I will say it was the Gateway Instructor course. I will say two. It was the Range Master, Tom Gibson's Range Master Instructor Development course, and the Gateway Instructor course. Tom's because by far, the most challenging instructor course that I have ever come across. So when I tell you I felt I left there feeling like I did something,
Hmm.
you know, some of the courses that I've gone to are very bare bones, they not super far distances or they're just not timed, whatever the case may be, very basic. That Ranger Master Instructor Development course was by far the best course I've been to as far as knowledge based training and also skill based training.
Nice.
Um, the Gateway Instructor course, something that by Citizen Safety Academy, my mentor Akil, he and Tiffany put together a Gateway Instructor course that is unmatched. And this is hitting a field that most instructors don't hit, which is learning how to teach novice shooters the basics, right? And then having a pathway for them to progress into intermediate level shooters.
Mm,
We
that's good.
sometimes, yeah, because we sometimes we hit the beginners and then we hit the advanced, and there's
Mm,
no bridge. There's no
yeah,
bridge.
yeah.
And that class taught me so much about newer shooters and how to get them from the basics transitioning into intermediate advanced level shooters. And that was the most valuable, those are two of the most valuable classes I've taken as an instructor.
Wow, that's really
Mhm.
deep. That's good. I like that. And that's definitely one of the things that I tend to focus on as an instructor. I focus on what level is my client on and how do I get you to the next level. And I'm
Mhm.
always about that. I'm like, okay, you're doing great at this. Let's go.
Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna
Yep.
challenge you to the next thing.
Yep.
So Drew asks, do you carry every day?
Yes. And when I tell you there's days sometimes that I'm just like, I do not want to put this thing on my hip today, but you have to commit to it. You have to commit to it
Mhm.
because the day that you need it, you done
Yeah.
messed around and left it at home,
Hmm.
you're gonna be 0 for 1.
Yeah.
Like, so it's good. If you're gonna carry, carry. If you're
Yeah.
not, don't, so
I will say I carry
mhm,
most
mhm.
days, because my schedule is kind of like here and there, and I'm over here. And these sometimes
Right.
a lot of times it may be places I actually can't carry it done.
Right.
So therefore, sometimes I'm not because of that reason. But for the most
Mhm.
part, yeah, for the most part,
Yeah.
I am carrying. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you said, you do have to commit to it.
You
Yeah.
do. Because when I lived on base, Sheena, I would have to de-gun, then get on base, and when I'm coming off the base, I'd have to go and holster back up. So it's like, and living on base for that time that it was all the time, and it got to a point where I just stopped carrying, and I would never suggest anybody do that, because it's like, why am I putting it on to go ahead and take it back off like in 10 minutes?
Right. Right. Well, it looks like we got some spam or something. Some bot
Yeah,
probably saying
okay, no
something
worries.
weird because that doesn't even make sense. I don't think we
You
said
looking for
anything that
trouble?
bitter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip over that one. We're all
Mm-hmm.
entitled to our own opinions, I'm going to say. But Mike, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you being here. And you too, Drew. Shouts out to you guys for
Mm-hmm.
being valuable viewers. Do you think that carrying every day means you're looking for trouble? That's a good question. Nah, not at
Mhm.
all. Because
Hmm.
honestly, carrying is the offense. Honestly, it's
Mm.
really the defense of the situation. So if someone else is coming to you, then you're defending yourself. So I meant to say defense, but yeah,
Defense.
yeah.
No.
So thank you,
Uh,
D. He was like, I'm on it. So I'm gonna.
no, carrying every day doesn't mean you're looking for trouble. You know,
Mhm,
I would say if you were walking around open carrying, just being real stout about your gun, and then maybe you're trying to draw attention to yourself. But I don't think carrying is means you're looking for trouble. At the end of the day, concealed carrying or carrying to protect yourself is exactly what it is. You're carrying in the event that you need to use it, because at the end of the day, you're not going to know when
right.
that day is going to come. You don't choose when someone attacks you, they choose the time. You just need to be ready to address it when it happens, if and when it
Exactly.
happens. So it doesn't mean you're looking for trouble. It's your last resort to getting yourself out of trouble.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I literally go into the I'm Mrs. Friendly right now while I have my firearm on me because I'm not going to go to jail for something stupid. It's
Right.
gonna have to be worth it for me. So that's where my mindset is. So it's definitely my
Hmm.
last resort, not my first resort. So
Hmm.
definitely I'm not looking for trouble. Because honestly, anything you do with a gun these days is gonna send you to jail. So I'm trying to do my best to
To
not go to
prepare.
jail.
Right. 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 You got to raise
Yeah.
these kids.
Yes, I ain't got time. I just
Hmm.
ain't got time for it. I don't. I don't.
Right.
So I want to ask one more time: is Asia on? And if you are, put something in the comment section. In the meantime, is Shannon on by any chance? And if she's on, then we'll go ahead and swap with her. Because I'm just like, what happened? Maybe she's having some technical difficulties, but
Yeah.
I can't really check my messages while this is going on. So I don't know if she
Mhm.
sent a message or what. Maybe trouble. Maybe you can reach out to Asia and see if she's all right, if she needs anything. Um, and okay, so in the meantime, what we're gonna do then is I want to ask about what made you decide.
Ooh. Let's
Oh,
answer
somebody
that
said,
one.
okay.
Yeah, answer
So
that
would
one.
you just show the gun or would you shoot? Ooh, that's a good question. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you brought that topic up. So showing a gun is definitely brandishing, and brandishing is something we really don't want to do.
Illegal.
And just really want to think about it like this. If you're showing the gun in order to deter somebody, were you really in fear for your life? That's always the question you want to ask, because it a lot of times boil down to not just the action that was taken, but it's going to boil down to legal battle, like you articulating why you actually chose to use the firearm for
Right.
this particular situation. So if you can honestly answer that question, like, okay, I possibly could have done something differently, and that's why I did this, and that's why I did that, then that leaves the room for where you really in fear for your life,
Mhm.
and that's basically where I am with that. You have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, brandishing is illegal in most states. It's aggravated assault of sorts,
Hmm.
and it can follow you with a Class C felony to or a misdemeanor to a Class C felony, which is not something that you want. Using a gun to intimidate or deter is literally in black and white against the law. So we cannot do that. And so no, I would not, or we would not just show the gun if for any reason you intend to use that firearm, you have to meet the criteria of self defense in order to use it, to draw it and shoot. And if you don't meet those criteria, which is you were in imminent danger, they had the intent, they had the ability, and you had no other option, those four criteria, you are going to have a hard time in defending yourself, because you have to be able to articulate that you met those four criteria and you for certain had no other choice, no other way, and that was the only way that you would be able to defend your life at that point in time. Because otherwise, you're gonna have a real hard time. The DA is gonna eat you up.
Oh, they definitely are. They
Hmm.
definitely are. So yeah, so for your answer to from me, definitely directly, it's about the shooting part, honestly. If it's coming out of my holster is because I intend to use it and I'm using it. There's no in between for me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So it looks like Asia can't make it. So is Shannon here by any chance by now? I'm just curious if she's ready to jump on. And if she's not, that's okay. Do I have Bobby here as well? Just trying to get a roll call going. So yeah, when it comes to all these things, though, it's all about your ability to get the proper knowledge. And once you
Mhm.
have the proper knowledge of this, then you'll probably feel a little bit better about carrying or owning a firearm and things like that. Because it does come with a tremendous amount of responsibility. But when you do begin to understand the law a little bit or understand your rights, things like that, then it becomes a little easier and have a clear cut understanding about what's the purpose, making sure that you're carrying it for the right purpose. Those are the things to know. Yeah, you're right, only in America. And that's why we have people visiting and they're like, oh, I want to come and shoot guns.
Mhm.
Because they don't get to do it in a lot of other
Anywhere.
states, you know? And
Mhm.
so it's just like, and we're just out here just having a ball. I mean, some guys was telling me about they were in Texas and some range was letting them do like a flame blower or something. I was like, what? Who does that? I was like, okay, I've never been there. I don't know anything about that world,
See.
but that doesn't sound right.
Well, I mean, they was using flamethrowers and and that was one of the weapons they used in the military. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. And so I'm like, what is going on here? But okay, if they doing that where they are,
What
so
I
be it.
said.
Yeah, only
They
in
like
America.
it. They like it. I love it. There we go.
Basically, basically. So one of the other things I wanted to do to there's a guest that I couldn't get to join today that is in the competitive field. And I know you know a little thing or two about that yourself. But I know she was expressing to us when we were doing her recording. Her video is
Mhm.
being edited, by the way. So we're going to be able
Obviously.
to get her insight very soon with her full interview. But oh, I see Bobby's here. Thanks, Bobby.
Yes.
Hang tight. We're going to switch in just a second. But this guest that I'm speaking of, we haven't put out her video yet. I just want to leave her nameless for a moment because you guys are going to see
Okay.
her full interview. She was just talking about like balancing the whole life with mommy and being a competitive shooter and work and
Mhm.
things like that. And I thought that was an interesting perspective because none of the other students that are male ever talk about that usually. Like I
Mhm.
hardly ever have a guy that says, "Oh, I couldn't find a babysitter, so I can't take this date."
Right.
But I have plenty of women that do. So, has that been your experience being an instructor as well? You have women
Um,
to say that, and men not so much, maybe.
I've had more women than men say it, but I have had men say, "Listen, my wife has to do A, B, and C, so I might have to reschedule." So I've gotten that too. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to switch gears real quick with Miss Bobby. Thank you so much, Miss Bobby. Monique, you can go ahead and drop out of
All
here.
right.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye. All right, Miss Bobby, if you can press your link now, you should be able to jump in. So, we are sharing the same link today because YouTube has not given me the right to have multiple guests on so far. So, we'll see when that comes about. So, I appreciate that we are just moving along with it. Make it work. That's what we do. Hey, Miss Bobby, I see
Hi,
you. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you.
That's good. That's awesome. I'm so glad you're able to join today. We spoke a little bit yesterday, and I just felt so excited to speak with you on this platform. Okay. So, one of the things that I just want you to kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, why you're here, what is it that you do?
Well, I got here by virtue of my I don't know how I got from here to here, but here I am. And have learned so much by taking this venture on, and discovered that there's a lot more to me than I thought, and it has brought me so much peace inside on finding who I was. And in my other job, I work in the medical field, so it's a nice path off of my normal work. And
Hmm.
I feel like, being an older woman, a lot of people come in, they're younger, and it's still a male dominated world. I find that I can offer a unique perspective to my students when I'm teaching them. And I do um, love teaching, and I try to let them know, hey, you can do this. I did this. You can do this. And there's such power that comes into it, and has really opened my eyes to a whole new me. That's how I'm
That's
here.
awesome. That is really awesome. I love that, this has been your journey. I know it could have been challenging for you, or I'm sure it was challenging, but I love that you've had that experience and you're spreading it and you're sharing it with others. And thank you, Heckler, for first of all for joining again. I appreciate you being here, but also letting us know about that connection. I was wondering about that too, but it does look like it did get a lot better. Miss Bobby, you were a little glitchy at first, but it
Okay,
fixed
I'm sorry.
itself. Yeah, it was cool. It fixed itself. It wasn't long at all. But that was one of the things that made me say, okay, like she's the perfect person to have here today, where we're celebrating women being in this community, and that is what she seems to be all about, helping, women advocacy for firearms. So I was like, she has to share this story because there's so many others out there. I wonder, do we have any other guests? I wonder, do we have any other viewers out here experiencing that? If you guys can put it in the chat box area to let us know if that story resonated with you. Is that something similar in your experience, that you either, had a spouse and maybe the spouse has passed, or maybe you're divorced and now you found yourself a single woman out here, and you got to a place where, hold on, wait a minute, my protector is not here. I need to be my own protector. And how do I do that? So it's one of those things. So someone said they're so proud of you, Bobby.
I'm proud of me because it was definitely outside my comfort zone, and I feel like it was the first time in my life, honestly, that I did something that was for me, and
Hmm.
that I was able to do it. And the person that hired me had such faith in me, more than I had in myself, and I discovered a power in me I didn't know I had. And I really love bringing that to my students and saying, listen, you can do this. And if you never touch another gun, just coming into this class and letting your mind open up to the possibilities. And it's more so than saying, I'm going to take a cooking class, or I'm going to go learn how to, maybe I'm going to go jogging or something. For me, I mean, because there's so much power in a gun that you singly hold, that it can open up a whole thing inside you to say, I can do this. and
Yes.
and I can feel the power in me coming out and going to the target, and more so than just competitively shooting, but knowing that you can do that, and you're only in competition with yourself, is what my
Right.
trainer told me. And I don't know, to me it's just incredible, the energy that it gives me inside.
That's
It's
amazing. And that's
very liberating,
exactly.
very
Yes,
liberating.
it is. It definitely is very liberating. And that's honestly the whole premises of this channel. To be honest, that is the whole thought process. So I created Shoot the Shish. Well, my husband is my visionary, okay? I had to put that out there. I didn't come up with the idea by myself, okay? But I took it and ran with it. He saw something in me that I'm trying to help other women, and he's seen something and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you this template, and he did, and then I just took it and ran with it. So the point is really for this channel to inspire. It's all about inspiring women to live their best life, live their dreams, and drop the fear. And it's okay that you have kids and you have spouse, you have family members that you tend to and things, but we do tend to get caught up in caring for others and not doing anything for ourselves, or doing the bare minimum for ourselves. And in most cases, the other people aren't taking care of us. So who's taking care of us? Not no one. So when it comes to that, it's like we just pour so much into our loved ones, but not into ourselves. So shooting is definitely empowering and taking back that power and saying, this is for me. you know, and I love that about this craft. So I really appreciate you sharing that because that's exactly what Shoot the Shish is all about, honestly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and I have to hand it to my dad, who is a old crusty Marine that helped me say, "Well, maybe I can do this." I don't know, and um, he's proud of me, quite proud of me that I ventured out and said, "Dad, you won't believe what happened to me. I got this job." And it's the best job in the entire world because I get
Oh,
to reach out to these women and I'm building something in myself that I never believed that I could do. And here I am. And I really believe in what I do.
that
And I
is
want my
amazing.
students to believe in themselves too.
Yes, it is nothing more gratifying. It really isn't for me, honestly. So I see Michael said, Bobby, do you feel like you need to show your skills first to gain men respect? I think he said it was a typo. Respect at the range. So,
I do not. I have been fortunate to never have been treated badly at the range, and even my male students, if
mhm,
they ask me to shoot first, it's generally because they're afraid and they have confidence in me, and I don't feel like I have to show off. I'd rather not, 'cause I don't want to intimidate someone, or if I have a bad day and I do badly, then they won't. I don't
right.
know. Just um, no, I don't feel that way, and I'm there to take care of them. And I had a great example, if you give me just a moment, about how empowering this can be. I had a group of students that I was teaching, and one of them was really struggling with trying to even get her target onto the paper at not a very long distance away. And
Mhm.
she started crying and became just almost
No.
hysterical. And she said, I could never do anything right. My parents told me I could never do anything right. And I shouldn't have signed up. And I'm like, you're okay, it's okay,
Yeah.
we start somewhere. And
Mhm.
she went and wiped her eyes, and I just came with, stood next to her and said, you can do this. You can
Right.
do this, and guide her through that. And then she was doing pretty well at the end, and she was so excited. She goes, I can't believe I did this. This is amazing. I feel so happy. And she found something in herself that you can do this. You can.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
amazing.
is what makes me happy to do what I do. I want to help them open that up inside themselves and say, it's not about just going and pointing and shooting a gun. It's about finding yourself inside and realizing you can do something that most people think you shouldn't be able to do. Because I still
Exactly.
feel it's a male dominant. I'd like to
It
see that
is.
broken, especially for older women. You don't have to be a youngster to do it. And I
Mhm.
get older women coming in and say, I'm alone and can I do this? Yes, you can do
Yeah. Yeah. And you're definitely right. I definitely have many students that fall in that same category that you're expressing. That oh my gosh, that lady would have had me in tears there with her. And
it.
I'm not that's so weird though. It's honestly weird for me because I'm not a very like emotional person when it comes to that. Like I don't want to I hate dealing with feelings. Like why do I want to deal with that? But when it comes to this being so much of a passion for me, it holds like a little sweet spot for me that I can really dig deep down inside me and be able to show that what's the word I'm looking for? Is it empathy or sympathy? I get those two mixed up. But
Empathy.
empathy, yes. I show a little bit of empathy and it goes a long way because it helps that person along, whether it's male or female. But yeah, to answer Michael's question, before I jump into that, D, I see you. Thank you for being here. Just hang tight. We're going to switch Miss Bobby in a few with you. But Michael, to answer your question, for me, I have had students to challenge me. Yes. It was very subtle challenge. It's more like, um, more along the lines of, well, I'm not hitting the target where I expected it to be. Here is my gun. See, let me know if it's my gun or not, type of thing. And I'm like, okay. So, and I'll, pick it up and I'll shoot. And it's like, they're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess you do know what you're doing, kind of thing. So I've had some guys to challenge me in that way. It's very subtle. It's, kind of sweet, straight to the point though, because I just shut them up by my actions. I don't talk much. I just show them what to do and that's it. So once they see me do it, then they pick it back up and then they're convinced that they can do it.
I have had that, but I didn't take it as a challenge as him saying, "Is it me or is my sight off? Can you check it?" Boom. It's you.
Mm,
Not your gun. you know.
yeah. And Big Dad 444 said he's gonna be messy and asks you, have you had any students to hit on you?
I'm sorry, did I miss something? You glitched out for a second.
Oh, Big Dad 444 said, I'm going to be messy and ask, have you had any students to hit on you?
Just a few,
I
but I
bet
take it in
so.
stride. I'm very professional. I
Yeah.
but it can be fun and lighthearted, but never anything that was vulgar or made me feel uncomfortable.
Okay, that's great. I mean, I think that we have like a sort of shield around us when it comes to some terrible behavior. If someone knows that this is what you do as a woman, they're kind of like, okay, I'm not going to take my chances because she's going to shoot me, basically. so, so I don't think
Well,
anybody would go that far being disrespectful.
yeah, I can handle myself just fine if it were to
Yes.
get to that.
Exactly, exactly. So, when it comes to oh, Big Dad 444 did ask for me too. Yes, I've had some people to try to hit on me, but it was more so along the lines of me being the person that they talked to for Trouble Defense, my company, and they were trying to sign up for services. But once they learned that I'm also an instructor and my husband is also an instructor, then it became, oh, I'm not messing with you.
I'm not gonna mess.
so so yeah, so that kind of turned real quick when it came to that. so let's see, that's cool. They tried their hand when you have a gun in yours. that is too
I
funny.
remind them, everybody be nice because everyone here has a loaded gun.
Yeah. exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And looks like we have GD on here and they're saying hi. You want to shout them out?
Hi, shout out to everybody. This is
yes.
my first experience, and I'm really grateful to Trouble Defense for inviting me on to share what I really truly believe in and have a passion about.
You're
And
welcome, of
I
course.
admire your course of action and your goal.
Thank
Support you.
you. I appreciate it. I'm loving what you're doing out there. Honestly, it's like honestly, we made that real connection extremely quick. That's exactly what our goals are to right align with each other. And it's just a blessing to have other like-minded women out there, like Linus Defense, who is, pretty much going through that same path of helping others. And as I started the show, when I opened it up, I talked about Annie Oakley, and one of the things she did before she passed was train 15,000 other women.
Oh
So she
wow.
literally passed the baton to us and, like, honestly, paved the way for us to be able to do the same. And that's what we're doing. We picked up that baton and we're passing that baton to others to help them along their journey as well. So, Bianca, thank you for joining. Bobby, you're close to my age. Guns don't make you jump. That's what Bianca was asking you.
Age doesn't make a difference, right?
I don't think so. I really don't think
It
so.
doesn't. It doesn't. The
Yeah.
only way it makes a difference is maybe the kind of gun you buy that you can hold in your hand, but it definitely doesn't matter how old you are.
hmm
It could change your path at any point.
Okay. Okay. So someone asks, Sam Surface asks, what position is most comfortable for you all to conceal carry?
I like the appendix carry. For me, I'm a small person, so sitting on my hip, it grinds into my bone too much. So that's where I prefer.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely like that too. I'm very similar when it comes to that. I love my belly band though. That's pretty much where my comfort is. Finding all the hip holsters and the side holsters has been a little challenge for me, but I'm pretty much in love with my belly band. I love the flexibility of that as well. The fact that I can wear it with leggings. I can go outside with the kids and do some cockwheels, kick a ball around or something, and it's not going anywhere. So I love that flexibility as well. It's not bulky, you know. So I love that. So, and it also helps keep my little gut in too. So, what I am going to ask right now is if you have any, I guess, advice for any women out there before you leave. Would you please share that with the viewers?
What I would tell anyone that has come in and asked, questions is like, if you're uncertain, please don't be afraid. Just start off with an introduction course, maybe a private lesson where you don't feel intimidated by having a lot of other people around, which most
Mhm.
women do feel intimidated about. And you
Yeah.
won't know until you try it. And you don't want to let life pass you by not living your life and trying different things. And you may discover something you never thought in your within yourself. And if it
Hmm.
hadn't been for the person who hired me having faith in me, I told my mom, I don't think I would ever have considered trying to be a firearms instructor. It would have never even thought crossed my mind. And I'm
Yeah.
so appreciative to that person for saying, "Hey, would you like to do this?" I'm like, "I think I would. I think I would like to try this." And I would say, give it a try. And nothing put you in cement saying this is what you have to go buy a gun. That's what I tell them. You don't have to go buy a gun, but try it. You might discover something in you never thought existed, but you
Yeah.
won't know if you let it pass by you, because we only get to run this ship one time,
Yeah. That's
and
true.
then it's gone. And life is all about experiences, and make your life
Mhm.
rich. And I believe in that. Be a renaissance man. Try everything. Learn everything you can about anything that you can.
That's facts. I agree. And I thank you for that. Honestly, I hope that helps someone to be able to live their dreams and take chances. Because you're not by yourself. You're not the only one to do it. I know one of the things I had to remind myself, pushing out baby, I'm sitting up here like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm telling
Yeah,
my mom,
exactly.
I can't do this. And she's like, sure you can. All these women, myself and others, they all done it. You can do it too. And so, approaching firearms with that same mindset, you're not by yourself. There's others
Right.
that came before us who have accomplished the same goal, and you can definitely do it.
And
So,
a word of parting advice, when I was going through my divorce, and it was very heart wrenching. And my grandmother, because you have to remember, we come from, a pilgrimage stock. Like the
mhm.
generation now has had it a little bit easier in terms of technology and goods and stuff. But I think of my grandmother, born in 1910 or 1920, and she's like, "Honey, you come from a long stock of strong women. You're going to be just fine."
Oh,
And
I
I have
love it.
I'm a strong woman, and I can do many great things. And
Yeah.
you just have to put that foot forward and go out there and do it.
Yeah, exactly right. I appreciate you sharing your journey. It definitely was touching to me. Anybody else out there want to comment on that or second that? Because it definitely was touching for me. And I appreciate your input. And please continue out there helping those people with their guns, particularly women, and encouraging them and empowering them. I appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and come out of this link here. If you want to stick around and be in the chat box area, that's perfect. In case someone has any more questions, you can give some insight about.
Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Of course, no problem. So right now I'm gonna have Miss D Myers. I think that I can help you with that. Okay, there we go. So Miss D, if you can go ahead and press your link to jump in. I know one of the questions that Sam you had, I saw you asked, so what was my recommendation for a belly band? I'm not a brand person. I honestly don't even remember the brand name. I know it when I see it, but I know I bought mine on Amazon. Believe it or not, I bought it on Amazon. Belly band holster. And I know it was like $40, $45, something like that. That's the only thing that I can actually say. And yes, she did a great job. I really love that Bobby came on and gave her point of view, because there are so many other ladies out there that is a little bit apprehensive about touching a gun because of age or because the fact that they're a woman and they were raised that ladies don't do this, type of thing. And so that was just a bit of encouragement that I really hope that someone here was able to take with them and gain from. I mean, honestly, you can see there's ladies out here doing this. I tried to bring on as many ladies as I could tonight at short notice. Y'all don't get me. It was short notice, okay? I had a lot going on this week, and I just forgot to coordinate this, believe it or not. But we finally got it together. So when it comes to this platform, it's really just about coming together and encouraging one another. And I love all the comments and things you guys share and the questions because it lets me know that we're out here actually helping people. So I really love that you guys put in the chat box area things that you have to ask. And I hope that we're doing a great job of giving you guys that insight. D, I don't know if you can still hear me. D Myers, sorry, I got to be specific about that. D Myers, if you can hear me, it is time for you to go ahead and press your link button to join here. Okay, so while we wait for her to jump in here, I do want to point out something from a perspective that one of the guests that couldn't join. Let's see. Okay, you can hear me. So you're gonna have to, D Myers, you're gonna have to leave this link. So close this out and then press the other link that I text you, and you'll be able to join me here. So, in the meantime, while D. Myers is jumping on, I wanted to give another perspective that women are branching out in every aspect of the firearm community. We're not just in the competitive field now, but we also are in law enforcement a lot. So, a lot of times you may find going into places you see more security that are women. At least I know I've noticed that change. We're seeing more police officers that are women. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. More women joining the military. I'm like, this is just really cool to see that there are other women out there. Okay, one second here, D. I'm gonna just try to see something here. All right, now try it again. I may have had to actually press Miss Bobby out. She may have just closed her screen. That might have been a problem. All right, so it should work now. Okay. So when it comes to seeing all these women in these fields, it really helps me to raise my daughters better, to let them know that there are so many opportunities and they're not limited to being just this one thing. Oh, I'm a female. Da, 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 da. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy
Hey,
to
how you doing?
all right, Miss Busy Lady, you've been working and
I've
having
been on
fun,
the
I might
road.
add.
I'm at a conference right now, so I'm in my hotel room now. I just got back to the hotel.
Yes, I appreciate you making some time for us. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought your
thank you for
story,
having me.
you're welcome. Your story is one that I wanted to share because it gives a different perspective. When you and I met, you expressed how excited you were to meet me because I look like you, that we're both black, we're both women, and we're into this thing of firearms. And that kind of gravitated, kind of stayed connected because of that. So I wanted you to just go ahead and share a little bit about yourself, who you are, and why is it that you love firearms so much?
Okay, I was in the military. I retired from the military. I can't believe it's been almost 19 years now. And when I was on active duty, of course, my main weapon, I was not shooting pistols. you know, back this to date myself. Back when I was in, it was the M16A2. So
Okay.
we going back a lot of years, and I retired in '06. But I had always, intended to get a concealed carry permit and start, the only time I really carried a pistol was when I was deployed to Iraq.
Mhm.
And it really wasn't a gun that really fit my hand the way it should have, but it's what I was issued. So, oh well. But once I got out, I intended to get my permit and start shooting, but it just never happened. So fast forward all the way to 2018, one of my colleagues finally said, "Hey, my husband is a firearms instructor. He's going to have a class just for ladies." And I attended the class and really, really had a good time. I said, "Okay, I need to do this." But more time went by. So finally, in 2020, is when I finally got off my butt during COVID. And I was introduced to this lady who was a retired Marine, and she had a group called Pistol Packing Ladies in Stafford, Virginia. And I was told she was a great instructor. And also I said, you know what, this is something I think I'm finally going to do this. So I took the class, concealed carry class in August of 2020. I bought my first firearm, which was a 6-hour P365. It was highly recommended. Great gun, great gun. And so that was my first gun. And then I bought a Glock 19 about a month later after that. And then I waited a little while, and then the 6 hour P365 X Macro came out. And that just had to be a birthday present. So that was a birthday present. I think it was in 2023. And I bought a 22 just for, just to have a 22. And so I've got my sights set on a few others, but that's how I got into firearms. That's how I started really shooting on a regular basis. And up until a few months ago, I just had, well, it's been about 6 months now. I had shoulder surgery, so I couldn't shoot at all. And so now I showed I'm probably at about 90%. So guess what? I can start shooting again. That's exactly what I intend to do.
So it does seem like it's a little echo anytime that I'm speaking. So do you want to just like you did? Perfect. I was just gonna ask if you just mute while I'm speaking real quick, and then when I'm not speaking, unmute. But you got it. You're pro at this. I don't know why I'm trying to tell you anything. You got this. You guys, she presents financial information for a living, so she's very well familiar with public speaking and know how to handle these things. So you want to know a little bit more about finance, you got to need to connect with this young lady here. She got your information, but I brought her here because of her love for firearms, and I wanted her to share that journey because I know there may be some other women out there that could be a little apprehensive at first, but hearing her story might encourage you to go ahead and just go ahead and try it. Never know. So, Miss Myers, I wanted to ask you this too. Let's see. The question I had for you is, let's see. I'm sorry, I had one specific question for you. When you did different training through the military, whether it was as a civilian, was it a particular training that stuck out for you and just kind of just stuck with you?
Honestly, the military training is just, you go out there on the firing line, you've got your weapons out there. If it's the first time, you got to zero the weapon. And again, these are rifles, these are not pistols, unless then later on, as I got up in rank, then yeah, I was issued a pistol, but still, it's you go out there quick, fast, in a hurry, zero the weapon. You go out there, you shoot targets, you qualify with a weapon, and that's it. And
Mhm.
so, unless you're in, a specialized unit, and I'm thinking about some of my combat arms units, folks like the Ranger Special Forces, or Navy SEALs, or some of the other elite forces. Honestly, you don't get to really practice a lot. When you would think in the military, but unless you're deployed, you're getting ready for training or whatever, it's not something that you do all the time. And so that's why I never really fired any pistols. I never really took up firearms training when I was in the military. Of course, I waited. Gosh, like I said, I retired in '06, and I didn't start shooting. Went to my first class in 2018, but when I went to that class in 2020, that lit a fire under me. And I don't know, it's because it was a female instructor, and the male instructor was great. He really was. He lit the fire. He planted that seed. But in 2020, when I went to the firearms class with had female instructor, and she's unfortunately she left Virginia. She's back in Minnesota now. And I went to that class, and then I was in a class with other ladies, and I just started shooting from there. And so I would say it was that class. And then I happened to meet a lady online at a networking event who has a firearms academy down in North Carolina. And I met her, and I invited her to come to one of my events, and she drove up from North Carolina to attend the event. We got to talking, and in the following month, I went down to North Carolina to spend a day with just private training out on the range. And she had a table full of weapons, so I got a chance to fire a little bit of everything. That was a lot of fun. But just doing things like that, it just lit that fire. And the way I like to say it, some people play golf, some people play pickleball. I like to shoot guns. So
I love it. I love it. So, someone, Mad Woman 23 did ask, what branch were you in? What branch of the service?
U.S. Army.
Right. That's right. So I'm actually also an army brat myself, and army wife, I guess I should say as well. So that's the only branches I'm very familiar with. So when it comes to the other branches and things like that, it's one of those things that I have that connection with. I feel like military families are pretty much well rounded. I really love meeting other military families. Pretty usually outgoing, friendly people, if you will, for the most part. So it's really cool to meet with other women like yourself, honestly. Now Mad Woman did ask, let's see, somebody did say something else. Oh, Bobby said guns used to make her jump, but not anymore, now that she's using them often. And the same for me as well, what actually, no, I had to take that back. For me, it didn't actually affect me in that way. It didn't affect me that way. I've seen many students jump, but I really didn't jump as much at the beginning at all. Um, Probably a little PTSD from growing up in Southeast, hearing gunshots every night. That was a lullaby. That was a lullaby to sleep every night. If I didn't hear gunshots, the police, or the ambulance, I wasn't going to sleep. I was like, wait a minute, where's my lullaby? No, for real though. But it definitely was and I noticed that change when I moved from that environment to a new environment where there was nothing but crickets, and I was like, I can't sleep. So I definitely didn't have that same exact experience. The only time I would jump though when I first started going to the range is if somebody had like a huge gun. They're shooting some huge caliber, some shotguns or whatnot. But now I'm completely numb. Nothing makes me jump now. So someone did ask, what was your MOS, if you don't mind sharing that?
So MOS, for those of you who've never been in the military, is military occupational specialty, just in case. We have a lot of acronyms in the military. So my first 6 years, I was an admin. I was in a combat aviation battalion at Fort Bragg. And then after 6 years, I changed my MOS and I went into military intelligence. I was a technician. And so I worked on a lot of systems, I'll say. Some very special systems. But I can't tell you what I did, otherwise I'd have to shoot you. But that's what I did for the rest of the time that I was in the military, and really enjoyed doing it. It's IT field, um, working on computers, working on systems, doing things like that. So yeah, that's what I did the remaining time that I was in the military.
Well, thanks for sharing that. One moment, I just want to do a little check in real quick. Is Shannon on? If you're on, Shannon, just put something in the chat box area to let me know that you're here. But as we wait to see if Shannon is here, I just wanted to ask you another thing about your transitioning from being in the military to being a civilian. Do you feel like you had a bumpy road there, or was it like a smooth transition?
That's a great question. It really depends on the person. For me, it really was not. It was more of a smooth transition, and I say that because I started a year out planning. I did a lot of backwards planning to try and prepare myself for being a civilian. Because when you think about it, I was 18 years old when I joined the military. And I spent 22 years, 7 months, and 10 days, not that I counted, on active duty, right? And so I was early 40s when I retired from the military. And, coming out, I basically grew up in the military, right? And so when I got out, it was kind of a smooth transition, I would say. I didn't have a problem finding a job or anything like that. And the only thing that they didn't prepare me for, I would say, some of the medical stuff, the stuff that I took for granted when I was young and crazy, did all kinds of crazy stuff and put my body through all kinds of crazy stuff. All that stuff is caught up with me now. It's caught up with me now. But other than that, it was smooth because I planned it out and I asked a lot of questions. Knowing what I know now, whenever I meet somebody who's on active duty now, and especially if they're getting ready to either leave the military, just getting out, or if they're planning to retire, then if they're willing to listen, I like to give them a few pointers just to help them smooth things up, because you don't learn it all. They don't tell you everything. And there's so many things I wish I had known about before I retired. But anytime I can help somebody with that, I'm more than willing to help.
Well, that's definitely a plus because we definitely need people out here to educate us about these type of things. I mean, the way you expressed it, it made me think about being a college student and how, depending on what college you go to, you may not have so much support in the college setting to tell you what to do next. You have to go and figure it out for yourself. They leave this much room for you to navigate and ask the right questions. And I know for me, it was a wake up call because it was like, okay, nobody's going to tell me what to do here. And this is the freedom that I've been asking for as a teenager, right? And now that I got it, I don't know what to do with it. And I definitely don't know the questions to ask them. So how am I supposed to find out what to do? So, but that just made me think about that. And when it comes to firearms, it's probably the same approach for many people. They see the gun, you see it on TV, you see it in the video games, but you don't really know what to do with it. So it's like, where do I start? So I have lots of students that come to us and say that very thing, like, hey, I know I want to do this thing, but I'm gonna need your help, the guidance on where to even start. Because I have no clue. I see you offer this, but where do I begin? So I see Oscar said, I wouldn't consider giving up any firearms unless everyone else gives up theirs first, including the police. So that's a good perspective that you have there, because some people do believe that, America might be a better place if everybody put down their arms, if everybody got rid of their guns. You're shaking your head already. I was going to ask you what was your perspective on this matter, but you already like, no. And so, if you want to elaborate on your answer to that, as far as do you believe America might be a better off place if everyone put down their arms or no?
That's a great question. I look at it, first of all, we have that Second Amendment right. Okay. And so there's nothing wrong with owning one gun or if you got 50 or 100 guns. Because when you think about it, it's not the gun that causes the problem, it's the knucklehead that's holding the gun. Right. So if you're responsible and you take the time to learn how to use guns properly, especially if you have kids in the house, right? Then you're gonna have to take some extra precautions. See, for me, I live by myself, so I don't, I don't have to worry about kids, thankfully, in the house. But it's one of those things to where I don't have a problem with people having firearms. I think we should have. If you want them, I think you should. And depending on where you are, where you live, you need some. If you live out in a rural area somewhere, having a firearm can be a difference between life and death. Depending on the situation that you find yourself in. But the problem I have is that there are too many people buying guns and they don't really know how to use them. First of all, I got a problem with that. Second of all, they don't practice because it's one thing to buy a gun, but if you're not going to the range on a regular basis and learning and shooting, getting used to using the gun, right? Um, and if you don't take any type of training, you need to know the laws, understand reciprocity. I mean, when I travel across state lines, before I leave my house, I look at the reciprocity map. I want to make sure that I can take my gun with me, right? Because I don't want to have any issues, right? I really don't want to have any issues. And I don't want to have to keep it hiding in my vehicle somewhere until I get back into Virginia or another, weapons, firearms, friendly type of place. But it's just one of those things where if people were just responsible, being responsible for the firearm and realizing that hey, this is something. It's a great thing to have. Like I said, some people play golf. I like to shoot guns. I don't see a problem with that. But I'm very responsible with my firearms. And so, if you are a responsible gun owner, then no, you should have the right to carry guns. But there are too many people out there that are not responsible. You just you look at the cases of kids somehow getting a hold of mama's gun or daddy's gun, and they don't know what they're doing, and somebody gets killed. There was a 6-year-old in my neighborhood a few months ago. Elementary school, took a gun to school, was in his backpack. The poor kid didn't even know what happened. What had happened was the mama's boyfriend put the gun in the child's backpack. Don't ask me why. But it caused a big stir out in the entire area there, I mean, that poor kid didn't know any better. What if he'd gone in that backpack and took that gun out, like, oh, look at this. And next thing you know, you're hearing about some kid getting shot. So that's the biggest problem I have. If you're going to buy a gun, be responsible. Get some instruction from a good instructor like Sheena, or the other lady that was on. I didn't see the whole interview. Get some good instruction, and then you have to practice, people. If you don't practice, there's no sense in you even buying a gun. Because when the time comes, if you have to use it, you're going to be in trouble. You're really going to be in trouble. So that's the best advice I can give on that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you saying that. I mean, because honestly, it's one of those things that I can't stress enough about getting the knowledge and knowing how to properly, safely store the firearm. Because it's not enough for you just to know how to use the gun. You have to know when to use the gun and how to keep people who are not supposed to have it away from it. So it's a big responsibility. So hopefully, this channel enlightens people with more knowledge and skills so that they're out there not making the same mistakes that others have made. Because guns are unforgiving. We got to get it right the first time. We have no room for error. So I can't stress enough how we got to make sure that we don't make mistakes with firearms. And so that's one of those things that I really appreciate you putting that piece in there, honestly. While I have everyone's attention, if you guys could please press that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you put on the notifications, because if you don't, you won't get notification when we do things like this. And also press the like button too, so others can actually see that this is worthwhile to view. So it looks like we're getting some comments here, and I just want to take a look at that real quick. One comment was like about a mouse gun. I'm not really sure what they meant about that. If you have any thoughts on that, D, please let me know. Be common sense and train. Okay, go ahead. You can go ahead.
I was looking at this and I'm wondering if this is a troll or what. Because it's just I'm looking at the comment and it's like I don't know if this is somebody just being a troll or what the deal is, but yeah, it's not making a whole lot of sense to me.
Yep, guess I'm moving on. I was thinking the same thing as I was trying to put all these together. I was like, okay, well, that one is what it is. It happens. So thank you, D. He's on it. So not you, Miss D, but the other D. So when it comes to this whole thing here, though, I really love that you were able to take some time with us and celebrate Women History Month, because it's so important for us to see that there are other women out there who look like us, act like us, that have these same connections as us. There's someone out there you were speaking to, and it probably helped them along the way. And I just wanted you to share that experience. So, if you want to say a last couple of words before you hop off here, I would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I was able to come back, get back to the hotel in time to see this and participate. Um, Probably the best advice I could give, ladies, out there listening. If you thought about owning a gun, had some interest in owning a gun, or whatever, somebody said you should buy a gun, or whatever the case may be, but you're kind of hesitant about taking that first step. I would tell you this: first of all, do your research. Find out, what the classes are in your area. Concealed carry classes. Like I said, I've had both male instructors. I've had a male instructor. I've had two female instructors. Sheena was one. I went to one of her classes, and like I said, I went to another one. And then from there, once you go to a class, and an instructor is going to have multiple weapons that you can try. Try those weapons to see what fits good, what fits your hand well, right? Get some recommendations. Don't let somebody tell you that, oh, you should go ahead and buy this. Fellas, I'm not picking on any fellas here, but I'm just saying, don't let your husband, your man tell you, go out and buy a gun for you and you're not with him. If he wants to take you to the store to buy a gun, or he wants to go and buy a gun for you, don't let that happen. You need to be at the store with him. You need to put that gun in your hand. You need to get a feel for it before you decide to buy that gun. Because I'm telling you now, if the gun is not right for you, let's say you mess around and maybe he has a full size gun. And he's like, oh yeah, this is what I have. This is a great gun. It could be a great gun. But if you don't have big hands, or you're not prepared to handle the recoil for that gun, for a full size gun, then a full size gun is not going to be right for you. You want to get a compact gun or even a subcompact, so look at different things. Ask people who are experienced. firearms instructors, people who who do things like that. Ask them for their advice. And another thing I would say too, I belong to actually two women's organizations. One is called Armed Women of America. It's a nationwide group, and I belong to one that's in Northern Virginia. Okay, we meet every single month, and every month we have a different topic that deals with firearms. We basically, the first hour of the meeting, we're going over business. We have getting instruction on something, and then we go out on the range. And so when you join organizations like that, you get a chance to learn from women who know what the heck they're doing. I mean, some of them are professionals. That's what they do. And then the other organization is a lady who was, she's prior military, and then she works with some of these three-letter organizations that I can't talk about, but she's been through, I mean, she does some crazy stuff. I mean, really. And so I've learned a lot from her. And so when you go out there and you're working with ladies who have a passion for teaching and they're good at what they do, then tag along, learn, take a class, get out there and practice, and then go start. If you decide you want to buy one gun or multiple guns, then go ahead and do that. Like I said, I only have four right now, but then again, I had an injury, and then a couple of years ago, I had back surgery, so it's like, I was out of it for a while, but I've got my eye on several weapons that sometime this year I'll be buying some new ones. It's time to add some new firearms to my collection there. But yeah, definitely do that. Don't be afraid. Remember, you're the one who controls the gun. The gun does not control you. So if you keep that in mind and you learn the basics about how to handle that firearm and all, then guess what? You're not going to have a problem. And what I found too, from I guess you could say I'm a professional instructor. Started in the military, and now I teach people about money now. And that's mostly what I do. But it's just one of those things where, once you get out there, you just, you find somebody who you can just kind of learn from it all. And you just take that thing and you just run with it, and you go and you keep learning. And so with Sheena, it's like, so we made that connection when I first found out about her and everything. And it's like, okay, so people like that you can learn a lot from. So do that. Don't let the fear stop you. I would tell you that. Don't let the fear stop you.
Thank you for that. And you're exactly right. And everything you said, I mean, as far as I can't stress enough how many women out here do rely on their spouse or brother or uncle who's in the military or whatever to tell them this is the gun to buy. Or maybe they went to that gun show and that salesperson was like, oh, this is it for you. And I'm like, why didn't you take the class first? Take the training first. Even if it's not with me, I'm okay with that. I'm not jealous. I'm not a jealous instructor. What I'm going to say is go get the knowledge from someone first before you make that decision. Do some training first so you'll know what things to look for. Because, I mean, buying a gun is very much like buying a car. There's too many brands out there for you to know, and it's not a one shoe size fits all. It's really not. So I couldn't stress that point enough. You're right on when it comes to that. And Deandra, thank you so much for joining again, and thank you for saying that D inspired her. Like I really appreciate you saying that. That lets me know that we're doing something great here. That's what it's all about. This is all about community. I know we're stretched out all across the US and maybe across the world. We have viewers from across other countries as well. And the fact that we have people that say things like that means that I'm in position. I'm doing the right thing. This is my calling. So I definitely appreciate you putting that out there. So thank you so much, Dee, for your words of encouragement and for taking the time and making time for us. Because I know you're a busy woman. You're at a conference right now. So thank you so much. If you want to go ahead and hang around, be welcome to do so. I'm not going to be on much longer, but you can go ahead and jump out of here and hang around if you would like. If not, I'll catch up with you next time. So thank you. So when it comes to, just to wrap this whole thing up here, I wanted to leave you guys with a few things here. Last words here. Honestly, Women History Month is such a big deal because we all have women in our lives. There's many women on this platform that I speak to. We do lots of encouraging videos, so definitely take a look at that. Again, it's all about empowering one another because there's so many times as a woman, we tend to take the back seat to the men and the children and our parents maybe taking care of our other family members that maybe can't depend on themselves to take care of themselves. We put so much on our plate. A lot of times we just don't take care of ourselves. So I'm here to inspire you that in spite of whatever your responsibilities are, that you can find a way to live your dreams. I found my niche. It took me a little minute, but I figured it out. At first, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but now I figured it out, and it's been a great journey. And I appreciate all the women that I've had in my life, starting from my grandmother, my grandmother in law. They're no longer with me, but they instilled in me some great, valuable tips and tools. I mean, my even great grandmother even told me, hey, look, if my grandson is acting the fool, knock him out. So simple things like that makes me laugh, just to think about that. But the recipes that my grandmother left with me that I now teach my daughters. I absolutely love that. I mean, it's just something so simple to me to pass that knowledge down to my daughters. And I hope that they would also do the same with their children. My mom, my stepmom, my mother-in-law, I've been blessed to have many moms in my life, right? And they all teach me so many different things that really just sticks with me and make me who I am. And I really just appreciate them for doing that. So if you guys are on right now, I love you guys and thank you so much. But I would like to leave you guys also with just being encouraged to step out of those fear to go ahead and try firearms if you haven't already. If you're contemplating it, get with an instructor in your area. If you're in the DMV area, you can definitely reach Trouble Defense. There's also Lioness Defense. You guys can definitely check out those two platforms to be able to find instructors if you're in those areas. But in the meantime, I will see you guys next time. I'm really appreciative that you guys came here to celebrate Women History Month with me and all of our guests. It's been a great experience. I really hope that you guys enjoyed as well. So, without further ado, have a good night. I will see you guys next week, Wednesday at 12. Thank you so much, Dee. I appreciate it. You definitely did awesome as always. Y'all have a good one.